12 anti-ship ballistic missiles sat 90 miles from Florida. Not in headlines, inside Cuban bunkers aimed at our carriers. You clicked for that story. You're in the right place. In the next minutes, we break down the 14-minute decision cycle, the cyber exploit that fed bad coordinates into Chinese guidance, and the B-2 and JSOC play that erased the Caribbean shield before sunrise. If a DF-21D can't see, it can't kill. Stay to see how air, cyber, and ground combine to make those missiles blind, inert, and irrelevant. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A missile built to kill carriers shows up 90 miles off Florida. Why put a Pacific weapon in the Caribbean at all?
90 miles from American soil, our satellites just caught something that changes everything.
And also, surrounding Florida is actually the largest training grounds that we have for aerial combat.
What they're building and why should terrify you. So it's called a CDAA in Cuba.
The DF-21D lives on a high arc and a hard turn. It rides a ballistic climb, then steers in the last seconds with a maneuverable re-entry body that hunts heat and radar returns. It doesn't find ships by itself. It leans on eyes elsewhere, satellites that watch the sea, over-the-horizon radars that read the curve of the Earth, and receivers that stitch those cues into coordinates. Now place that system in Cuban bunkers and you don't get a coastal guardrail. You get an anti-access wedge sitting under America's nose. Here's the paradox.
New satellite imagery reveals China quietly upgrading high-tech surveillance installations 90 miles from Florida.
So the infrastructure of the United States, transportation infrastructure, our space launches, which is just up the road in Cape Canaveral.
The site in Cuba added a circularly disposed antenna, a Cold War era tool.
Those tubes weren't for Miami. They were a hand on the Pacific board. Threaten carriers in the Atlantic and you freeze movement, pinning assets that would surge west. You slow any Taiwan response by forcing commanders to guard home water and split attention across two oceans. Think of the sensor chain like a nervous system. Satellites blink, radars hum, data links pulse. If the eyes lie, the fist misses. Break the link between sea tracks and terminal guidance and the re-entry body dives into empty water. Keep the links clean, and a carrier group starts to look like a set of coordinates with a timer. The alert started as a routine pass.
Used to intercept radio signals from up to 8,000 miles away. That range covers every major U.S. military base.
And so the worry is that they're building up advanced capability to monitor the United States.
The targets are not random. The spy sites dangerously close to high-value U.S. targets, of course, Guantanamo Bay.
A surveillance bird flagged heat plumes and the long, square-shouldered profile of transporter erector launchers near hardened doors. Routine collection, but a non-routine pattern. That kicked an alert ladder into motion and snapped air defense units to a higher posture. The clock tightened fast. Pre-dawn drills can mask real prep. Political blowback loomed if shots rang out near civilians. There were 14 minutes at the top to pick a path, expose and pressure, or neutralize before a battery cycled to ready. Both paths carried risk. Talk buys time but leaves carriers inside a growing threat ring. Strikes end the sights but raise stakes. The soft spot wasn't the warhead. It was the data.
Now the upgrade at Bajikal means they aren't just watching us, they are mapping us in real time.
What we're looking at is the buildup of Chinese spy apparatus in the communist Cuba.
So the long-range threat is with the CDAA, China can listen to U.S. radar?
Corrupt the coordinates and you cut the kill web without firing a shot. So how do you blind a missile, crack a bunker, and lock a launcher, before sunrise and without civilian harm? What breaks a carrier killer faster, steel or code. The tree closes fast. Approve a multi-domain hit built around 3 effects: blind the guidance, fold the bunkers, freeze the tells. No speeches. No leaks. You cut the eyes, crack the shell, and jam the arm in one pass. One slip lights a fuse. One pause lets a battery roll to ready. The package has to slice the sensor net, cave reinforced bays, and deny any path from horizontal to launch angle. You need speed, quiet, and control. Cyber goes first. A 0-day lives inside the satellite receiver firmware and feeds false position to the guidance brain, just enough to push a ship's track off the aim point when it shifts course. It doesn't crash the system. It lies to it. A steel serpent swings and bites water. Space feeds the aim. Updated terrain and structure models refine routes, aim points, and fuse timing for deep penetration effects. The sequencing matters, because hardened galleries shrug off blunt force but fail when pressure waves meet at depth. You don't guess angles. You set them. 2 stealth bombers take the run. Their ordnance is designed to punch through reinforced concrete, then implode internal spaces without touching live propellant. Doors shear. Corridors crush. The magazines stay cold. Meanwhile, ground teams move on the edges. They slip through vents and service runs, bypass locks, then open the tells at their weak point, hydraulics. Drain the fluid, kill the lift. A launcher stuck flat is a truck, not a threat. Risk stays boxed. Night timing hides signatures. Tight weaponeering keeps blasts inside the wire. Geofenced rules keep weapons out of civilian grids, and exfil lanes sit ready with backups if a route closes. By first light, the shield turns to scrap. Guidance blinded. Shelters collapsed. Erectors deadlined. Carrier routes reopen and tempo returns to normal. The signal travels far. Deterrence favors those who fuse cyber, air, and ground and act inside a 14-minute window, where speed decides who gets to move and who gets pinned. Deterrence now lives in the seconds between detection and decision: blind the sensors, break the shelter, stall the launcher. That's the new math. Speed, fusion, and control decide who moves and who freezes. 1 window. 3 effects. 0 room for drift. So what would you choose under pressure, diplomacy on a live wire or a precise, pre-dawn tri-strike? Comment your choice below. If you want more hard-nosed breakdowns of modern warfare, subscribe. The next crisis won't wait. You shouldn't either. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict, where timing, judgment, and nerve carry the day.